They're the backwards of it, in other words. Okay, and today we're just going to talk about square roots. There are other roots we'll talk about later, but today we're just going to talk about square roots. And you will recognize this because, wait, have we done square roots?
No.
That is the thing that looks like this.
Oh, yeah, we
I believe we've talked about it. This is, okay, when you see this little symbol here and it's not a division sign, this is what we call the radical sign. And you can make all the radical jokes you want about it, but that's what it's called. Okay? And this, believe it or not, this is just in case you're playing Trivial Pursuit sometime and they ask you. This little guy here is called the radicand. I don't know if anybody will ever ask you that, but just in case you can say, I've got it in my notes. Okay, and sometimes there's a number in here, but right now, we're not going to have any number in there. When there's no number in there, this is called the square root. You say this like, you say this, you want to know what the square root of 16 is. What is the square root of 16? Okay, and the answer, the question you have to ask yourself is simply this. You are looking for what number times itself, what number times itself gives you 16? What same number times itself will give you 16? The square root of 16 is what same number times itself will give you 16. And that would be, Sammy?
4.
Yes, the square root of 16 is 4. It's just a 4. Don't put 2 4s down. It's not 4 times 4. It is just 4. Okay. The square root of 36. What number times itself gives you 36, Michael?
6.
Is 6. Okay. The square root of 15. What same number times itself gives you 15, Evan? No, 3 times 3 gives you 9. We got one out there somewhere for me? Mason?
3.
No, 3 times 3 is 9 every time I've done it. Same number times itself gives you 15. Michael?
3.
Not 3 1/2 actually. Peter?
Nothing.
Yes and no, actually, is the answer to that.
No.
We don't have, there by the way, there is no exact answer to this. 15 doesn't have a square root. You could keep working on it and do it and do it. You'll get actually a number, a decimal that never ends if you try to figure out what it is. You can get close to it. It's somewhere between 3 and 4. Okay? But this right now, and they won't give you this, but we don't know, we don't have an exact answer to that. Okay, they won't give it to you. That's why I wanted to throw that at you, because you're only going to be doing what we call perfect squares. And the perfect squares are called perfect because they work out nicely. And there's not a lot of them. When you think of all the numbers in the world, there's not very many square roots that actually work out. You can probably tell me, starting with the square root of 1 works out because that's what 1 times 1 is. What would be the next perfect square after 1? What's 2 times 2? It'd have to be the square root of 4. It's not because the square root of 4 is 2. What's the next perfect square after that, Eli? Nope, there's no square root of 6. You're multiplying. 3 times 3 is like square root of 9. What's the next perfect square after the square root of 9? We're up to the number 4, but it's not the square root of 4, it's the square root of 16, because 4 times 4 is 16. The next perfect square after the square root of 16 is, Ryan? Very good. 5 times 5, which is 25. The next perfect square after that would be, we getting there, Savannah? Very good. 6 times 6. Okay. All the other, I mean, there's there's an infinite amount of them, we can keep multiplying things together, but any number that falls between those, for example, the square root of 2, or the square root of 3, or the square root of 5, or the square root of 6, none of those work out nicely. Okay, if you plug them into your calculator, which feel free to do, I don't care, you are going to get a decimal number. The calculator will end the decimal number, but in the real world, those decimals go on forever. Here, I'll give you an example. Here's our calculator. You want me to do the square root of 15?
Yes.
Here's 15, the square root of. Okay, the actual closest this thing's going to give you is 3.87298334620747. Okay, and you don't want to deal with that number, but for us, it's going to be close enough to say that the square root of 15 is 3.9. Okay, and you're going to have to just say close is good enough. Okay, whereas if you took the square root of, 81, you know that that's a perfect square, you're just going to get 9.
What's pi squared?
Okay. I don't have any idea what pi squared is. Okay,